What's going on, guys? Rods Over Bricks here. So today I've got my three most favorite RC cars. I've got the Tamiya Lunchbox, I've got the 2001, 2002 RadioShack Trespasser, and I've got my homemade, all aluminum, hand machined, little 2S powered street car that's belt driven with some 3D printer parts. Now I know that they're all different styles, you know. We got the four-wheel drive Trespasser, the Tamiya Lunchbox, which of course you already know what that all consists of, and my little street car. You know, I know that there's going to be two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive platforms. Two of them are actually meant for off-roading. The little street car, obviously meant for asphalt. But I just wanted to do a little speed test with them and see how a couple of them do off-road and just put them through their paces. So let's get to it. So the first test we're going to do is going to do a speed run just to see how fast these cars go. This is relatively flat. It's a little bit downhill, so that might give us a mile or two an hour. Anyways, the Lunchbox and my little home-built street car, they are both 2S powered, and the Trespasser in the middle is a just an old style, I think it's a 7.2 or 7.4 volt nickel metal cadmium. Anyways, leave your guess in the comments below on how fast you think each one of these cars are going to go. And so starting us off is my little street car that I built from scratch. It actually started out as a stop sign. That's what the whole chassis is made out of. And I built this thing with a belt drive that came off, I guess, a 3D printer, a GT2 style belt. It is 2S LiPo powered using all the electronics from an Arma Gorgon. All right, I gotta tape the GPS to it because I don't have a place to mount it, and it's all aluminum, so there's nothing really to, you know, magnetize on. But let's see how fast she'll go. All right, we got steering and we got throttle. One thing I love about this thing is just how quiet it is. That is incredible. Let's make sure the GPS is working. All right, 5.8 miles an hour. Let's see what this thing can do. So we're gonna come back over here and get a good start to it. God, it's incredibly quiet. Oh, hang on. I think I squeezed the throttle a little hard. It looks like the GPS flew off. More tape. All right, more tape added. We've hit 12 miles an hour so far. I know there's quite a bit more left in it. Ooh. She's a little squirrely. But boy, is that thing quiet. Drives really good for, you know, being made out of a stop sign. So the driving experience from this little home-built car I made is just kind of unlike anything else, you know. It's not like a toy grade, it's not like a hobby grade. It's got a very interesting feeling to it, you know, and on top of that, just it being super, super quiet and steering super sharp. Now the steering trim is turned down a little bit. This thing will turn incredibly sharp, but then it becomes just super twitchy. Oh, I think I kicked a tire off the bead. Oh, ow. Oh, uh-oh. Well, it looks like we hit 20.1 miles an hour, and the battery only came out a little bit. But I think, you know, this thing, for being home built, just looks wickedly cool. You know, I wanted it to be kind of more of like a conceptual art piece, you know, being made out of scraps and all polished aluminum and all that good jazz. But I do like it a whole bunch. I think it turned out really well. And the fun part is about it being so quiet is that you can play with it just about anywhere and no one's gonna hear you. All right, so with my home-built, almost free to build RC car, we hit 20.1 miles an hour. Now, I know earlier in the video I called this thing my street car, and you guys have probably noticed that it's got the knobby tires from like a little Traxxas, some kind of like short course truck. And the reason for that is that these tires have a really soft compound, and I just wanted this thing to be as absolutely quiet as possible on asphalt. That way, you know, if I'm traveling somewhere and I want to play out in the hotel parking lot at 3 in the morning, this thing won't wake anybody up. Anyways, let's get the Trespasser all batteried up and see what it does. All right, we've got the GPS all zeroed out on the Trespasser. We got a fresh battery and that just cool looking remote control with the long antenna. What do you guys think this thing will do? I don't think anyone's ever, done a speed run test on an old RadioShack Trespasser. I'm thinking it's gonna go 12. GPS taped on, and my most favorite part of it all, oh my God, that is just so cool. One thing I really like about this RadioShack Trespasser is just, it's something that I would have had back in my childhood. I never had one like this one. I had some kind of like Bigfoot, I think from like Nico brand or Nico. All right, let's see what the speed run test will say. Also, I apologize if you guys hear a lot of button clacking. I'm kind of holding my phone against the back of the controller. So, yeah, you'll probably hear the remote control clacking away. Okay, I'm just getting it warmed up. Trim seems good. That's all she got. Okay, maybe 12 was a little bit optimistic, huh? But boy, is it cool looking. Okay, what do you guys think? I'm thinking that 12 was definitely on the too much side. I'm thinking she does 8. 6.1. Oh shoot, I didn't have it in the, the right setting here. Hang on. Okay, this time I've got the GPS speedometer set to max speed, not current. Let's try this again. Also, can we just take a minute to appreciate these ridiculous antennas? I love it. All right, guys, what do you think? I'm thinking that 12 mile an hour thing was way too optimistic. Now that we got the speedometer, the GPS speedometer reading right, we'll actually know what the top speed is. I'm still thinking 8. Meow. I'm also trying really hard to make sure I don't roll this thing. Because these are, it's 24 years old and in pretty darn good shape. The Lunchbox, I'm going to be extra careful with, but we are going to get it airborne. And here it comes for its final speed. What do you guys think? Meow. Looks like the speedometer says 10. 10.1 miles an hour. That's definitely not the best. Well, let's see about the Lunchbox. All right, we've got the GPS on the Lunchbox. It is zeroed out and actually set up right this time. It's a little bit of a precarious spot for that piece, but I just didn't want to put it on the on my paint. And also, we just got to take a minute to appreciate, first off, just how awesome this RC is, and how decently it came out with a, believe it or not, Rust-Oleum engine paint out of a can. The Lunchbox is ready. What do you guys think? Now, this Lunchbox is 100% factory, with the exception of I am using all the electronics, again, out of another Arma Gorgon. I believe that's a 14-turn 550 motor that just barely fit in there. I had to get a little creative with the soldering and whatnot. It is running 2S on a 2-in-1 ESC. Well, let's see what she does. I'm thinking 18 miles an hour. But I might be a little gentle with this thing, because I really do not want to roll it on the asphalt. That body is like perfect. Okay, we got to about half throttle. I'm going to set up some of the steering trim. Oh, I'm so nervous to get this thing up to speed, man. All right, let's do it. Let's send it. Wow, that is fast. I don't think we got to full speed yet either. Ooh, okay, good. Okay, we're showing 16 so far, 16.7. Oh boy, man, this makes me so nervous. Okay, let's turn it around, get us lined up. The trim seems good. That had to have been 20. Oh Oh my gosh, my stomach would sink, you know, if this thing started tumbling. Okay, what do you guys think? 19.0. I think that's about all it's got. It might have just a little bit more. Let's do one more pass. Just first off, this thing just looks wickedly cool. I absolutely love this kit. Okay, that was definitely full throttle for a couple of seconds there. Boy, does this thing go fast for what it is. 19.3. Well, I guess that's about all a lunchbox is good for. That's completely stock with the electronics from an Armageddon. Well, I guess now it's time to go play off-road. All right, so starting us off, the Lunchbox, my most favorite RC of all time, I think. Now, this is like the perfect kind of terrain for this out here. You know, I know this thing's not a basher, but we got some good bumps and jumps and a lot of dirt to play in. It's just so much fun to see this thing wallow around and bounce all over the place. I mean, I think this thing's just absolutely classic and timeless. Especially with the Armageddon motor that it's got in here and the electronics. Plenty of power. Well, bang for the buck for being a really cheap hobby grade. I think this thing's totally worth the money. Yeah, I know you have to kind of supply your own electronics unless you get that pre-built one. I think that's how they come. I'm not entirely certain. But dollar for dollar, this thing is just absolutely a ball to drive. And it's a really fun build. And there's so many aftermarket parts. Okay, we're gonna go for some big air here. Well, ow! Oh no, I didn't even get that on camera. Well, to summarize this thing, with the Armageddon electronics and the price point, this thing is just wickedly cool, plenty of power, plenty of speed too. I mean, it runs out really well for 2S. I think bang for the buck, this is definitely the most fun you could have with a relatively cheap price point. And I think building it yourself is also really beneficial. That way you know how to fix it, you know, instead of buying the ones that are pre-built. Oh, this thing just looks so wickedly cool. See if we can catch a little bit of air. Oh, ow. Oh, it's first scratch. Oh, man. Oh, my God, on the, oh, man. All right, and pardon the sweat, man. I was chasing around the Lunchbox like crazy trying to get some of the footage. I'm not the best filmer out there, but hey, you know, you get the point. Anyways, now that this thing's got a few scratches on it and it's well used out in the dirt, let's go ahead and see how the RadioShack Trespasser matches up. You know, I know it's not exactly, you know, comparable to the Lunchbox, not nearly as powerful or anything of that nature. But it is a toy grade four-wheel drive that's kind of in the same size and price point nowadays, actually, if they're new in the box and you happen to find one. Anyways, let's see how the Trespasser does in the same dirt. All right, so the Trespasser, it's your typical toy grade from 20 years earlier. But let's see how it does off-road. Now, it is four-wheel drive and fully proportional. And, you know, I think the same thing that this thing has in common with the Lunchbox is you can see how just bouncy it is. And I think that adds to my fun with it. You know, I really like to see them just flop and bounce, and I think that makes for kind of just a fun watching experience. Now, I definitely wish this thing had more power, but I do have to keep in mind that this is toy grade and a quarter century old. so there is that. But still a ton of fun. It's fast enough to get a little bit airborne. As we saw earlier, I think it did 10 miles an hour. It'd be nice if this thing could do like 12 or 13. But all in all, a very fun driving experience. Super bouncy. Now, I'm not sure what good the four-wheel drive is. It's not really even powerful enough to like climb anything or even go through mud, I don't think. But it is still just a ton of fun. I think it just looks wickedly cool. I mean, just look at that thing. It is so cool looking. Well, all in all, you know, if you're looking at getting something that's toy grade and your budget's like 50 bucks, I think you could find one of these, you know, similar shape. You know, this thing's in good shape, not perfect, but I think compared to a lot of the other toy grade RCs out there, this thing is way better and way cooler. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of like New Bright and Motor Days, Adventure Force, you know, for me to take apart and use the electronics out of for my Connects builds. But if you're looking at buying something toy grade, I would definitely try to find one of these used, you know, somewhere on eBay, get a new battery for it, and just go out there and have a whole bunch of fun. Just a ton of fun this thing is. Okay, we finally got it airborne. All four wheels, I think, came off the ground. Well, all in all, for toy grade, I think this thing offers a wonderful experience. You know, not only of it being nostalgic, but actually driving really good for, you know, considering what it is. Luckily, it is fully proportional, which of course a lot of toy grade isn't anymore. But this one is, and that I think also just adds to its appeal. And it seems to be relatively tough. I think it just looks wicked. It's got that proper, like, cheesy, tacky, toy grade look to it. The remote control with the long antenna, also just fun and nostalgic. Now, I'm not going to bring my little aluminum car out here in the dirt. It's not what it was built for. But I just wanted to compare all three of these. You know, if I had to pick one and I had to be stuck with it, you know, which one would I choose? Well, obviously it'd be the Lunchbox. But I think I would choose this toy grade 25-year-old remote control truck over the one that I spent 3 weeks handcrafting out of aluminum on. This one's just a ton of fun to see. You know, it's not very fast, and it's not very good either. But it is just cool as hell. It looks neat, and it drives good. Just wish it had a little bit more power, but that might be something for another episode. Well, guys, if you were given the choice to have one, which one would you go for? The Tamiya Lunchbox, slightly modified with a larger motor, an all handcrafted, all aluminum, just kind of an interesting little super quiet street car? Or would you prefer to have the nostalgia of this old toy grade RadioShack Trespasser? Well, this has been fun playing with them all today. You know, I just wanted to get them all out. First off, I had to find the chargers and kind of organize some of that stuff, so it worked out pretty good. But for me, the winner is definitely still the Tamiya Lunchbox. I think I'd have to put the Trespasser at number 2 for me. You know, I think this thing's just cool. It was just a fun little, you know, piece for me to work on and polish and make out of a street sign. But the nostalgia factor just outweighs all of that. The Lunchbox, of course, has nostalgia. It's been around forever. It's a really fun build. This thing here, yeah, it's slow, but it's just interesting that it survived, you know, 25 years of usage by God knows how many people. And it still looks pretty good. It still drives really good. It's fully proportional. Now my little street car here drives really nice. Granted, it doesn't even have a differential in the back. It's just a 5/16 steel rod. But even though I made it, I still have to choose the Trespasser is number 2, the Lunchbox is number 1, and my little home-built one that I poured some heart and soul into as 3rd place, unfortunately. Well, guys, as always, thanks for watching. I had a whole bunch of fun today, and kind of fun to bring these 3 out and see how they do, see how they compare. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to be wanting me to bust out with something, legitimately hobby grade. I know the Lunchbox here behind me. Yes, it's hobby grade, but it's nowhere near, what a lot of your Armas are and Traxxas are anymore. But it's still a ton of fun. You can go to a hobby shop, buy it, upgrade it for just a little bit of money, and just have the most fun remote control rig there is. I mean, let me know what you guys think. Maybe you aren't a fan of the Tamiya Lunchbox, maybe you are. I think it's the coolest thing I ever made so far. But there's a lot more RC cars out there for me to find and discover and make and destroy. So, well, as always, guys, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.